Welcome to the South Ops Fire Weather Webcast for Tuesday, October 28th. I'm your host, Kristen Stewart. As we look at the visible satellite imagery this morning, we can see there is not much cloud cover out there, other than some low clouds over the San Joaquin Valley from lingering moisture at the surface. High pressure continues to build over California, leading to a shrinking marine layer, and weak Santa Ana winds will keep the clouds away from the land. Because of these factors, abundant sunshine will be in the cards for today, as well as increasing heat and lowering humidity. I know that it has been feeling a lot like fall recently, but we're going back to a summertime feel for the rest of this week. The main weather story for today will be the arrival of Santa Ana winds. Here is a look at some of our current wind observations this morning. You can see the Santa Ana winds have arrived over the higher terrain of Southern California in the usual wind corridors. Winds are mostly light overall right now, with gusts largely around 20 to 30 miles an hour, but they are expected to increase a little as we go into the mid to late morning hours when Santa Ana winds usually peak. For the wind-prone ridgetops, canyons, and valleys of Southern California, we can expect peak gusts in the 30 to 40 mile an hour range to be common during the mid-morning to mid-afternoon hours today. Localized gusts of 45 to 50 miles an hour are possible over windier spots at times. These winds will be driven by a surface pressure gradient from strong surface high pressure over the Intermountain West and lower pressure over California. There is very weak upper-level wind support to enhance these winds because the ridge of high pressure will be directly overhead and not conducive to providing enough forcing aloft. This means that these winds will be mostly light overall, since a stronger event would need an overlap of a tight pressure gradient with upper-level support. Winds will weaken on Wednesday, but still remain breezy across the higher terrain, with gusts of 25 to 35 miles an hour likely as the pressure gradient begins to relax. Brief localized gusts to 45 miles an hour remain possible, especially during the morning hours. Temperatures will strongly warm today for most areas, especially for areas of Southern California south and west of the coastal slopes, due to the weak to locally moderate Santa Ana winds I just talked about, alongside the building high pressure. These areas are expected to warm into the 80s, with some lower 90s across the warmer valleys, which is at least around 10 degrees above seasonal normal. A similar temperature forecast is expected on Wednesday. Thanks to offshore flow bringing in cooler and drier air into the region from the Intermountain West, humidity is expected to dramatically drop today. Minimum humidity will likely lower into the 8 to 15% range away from the San Joaquin Valley and its surrounding foothills. Humidity may lower further on Wednesday, with minimums as low as 5%. Areas of poor to non-existent overnight recoveries will be common in the higher terrain and deserts, as well as through windier corridors. Despite the breezy winds, low humidity, and hot temperatures during the Santa Ana wind event, recent precipitation and increased fuel moistures remain a limiting factor for large fire potential. Elevated to briefly critical fire weather conditions will be likely today and Wednesday across the Southern California ridgetops, canyons, and valleys susceptible to offshore winds. Though the increased fuel moisture and recent green-up should be able to mitigate most fire-related issues. However, there are pockets of increased concern for some drier areas that did not receive as much precipitation recently, including the Santa Susana Mountains and western San Gabriels. There are red flag warnings in effect for these smaller targeted areas through Wednesday afternoon to account for this dryness. Any remaining offshore winds will lose steam later in the day on Wednesday as the pressure gradient relaxes. Winds will return to weakly onshore later this week, which will allow humidity to improve a little, though it will still remain quite dry as fairly strong high pressure remains in place. With high pressure dominating, warmer than normal temperatures are expected to continue through the rest of the week and into next weekend, though slightly cooler than today and Wednesday, thanks to the switch back to onshore flow. With a reduction in wind and slightly increased humidity, no major fire weather issues are expected later this week. Breezy, warm, and dry conditions will cause the large fire threat to increase a little across Southern California today, but it will still remain low overall due to recent precipitation that significantly decreased fire danger indices and induced green-up. Despite the low overall risk during the Santa Ana wind event, there are pockets of increased concern for some drier areas in the wind-prone higher terrain of Southern California, such as across the Santa Susana Mountains and western San Gabriels. Even though it will continue to be warm and dry Wednesday through the weekend, the potential for large fire will remain low due to light winds. Though we do have to keep in mind that the prolonged period of warm and dry conditions will cause a significant decrease in fuel moistures, likely leading to a gradual increase in fire potential as we go into November. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in. Our next webcast will be on Wednesday, October 29th. Have a fantastic day.